Hi, my name is Aditi Mohan, and this is a visual timeline of Fra Angelico's work. Fra Angelico was born in 1395 near Florence. He was one of the greatest Italian painters during the Renaissance. It is likely that he received training from Lorenzo Monaco, a monk who was a leading painter in Florence until his death. He was heavily involved in the church. In fact, he created many altarpieces and frescoes for the church during his career, and we see this recurring theme in all of his paintings. He was well known for his use of bright colors, realism, and linear perspective. The Crucifixion was one of his most well-known works. He used tempera on wood with gold details. This artwork was inspired by the bronze doors of the baptistry of Florence. He is depicting a dramatization of Christ's crucifixion. As we can see, the Virgin is collapsed on the floor, presumably in grief over Christ's crucifixion. We can also see the horses and the soldiers on the horses with their heads down as if they were disappointed. He also included a lot of detail on the outfits of the soldiers. The background is plain except for the angels around Christ. He also used gold as his background to add brightness to the painting. The next artwork is the Fiesole altarpiece. He used a tempera with oil for some gold and silver details. The altarpiece was commissioned for the convent of San Domenico, which he was heavily involved in. We can see Madonna sitting on a throne, which is also called Maesta, which was a popular theme in Florence at that time, with a young Christ on her lap. They are surrounded by angels and saints. He also created two ornate pillars on the sides, which is where he used the oil for the gold and silver detailing. The next art is Madonna of the Star. He is tempera on wood with gold leaf. Madonna and Christ are in the middle of the painting. The outer rim features angels with God at the top, which is symbolic because he is looking down on Christ as well as Madonna and the other angels. He also adds predella, which is a narrow strip of paintings at the bottom of the painting. His use of light and bright colors is significant, notably the color blue, which we see in many of his other paintings, especially when he is depicting Madonna. The next painting is The Last Judgment. He used tempera on panel, which is either wood or metal. It was commissioned by the Camaldolci for the new head of the monastery. We can see that Christ is in the middle and is in judgment. Mary, John, and all the saints are also depicted around him. The angels around him also shows that he is the ruler of heaven. Angelico uses contrasting colors to show the difference between heaven and hell. On the left side, he uses bright colors to show heaven, which makes it seem as if it's a paradise, while on the right side, he uses very dark and drab colors to depict hell and torment. The middle section of the painting shows the dead breaking from their graves, ready to be judged by Jesus. The next painting is the Deposition of Christ. By the 1430s, Fra Angelico was a leading artist in Florence. His technique started to become very complex at this point. He used tempera on panel with gold leaf for this art, which was similar to Madonna of the Star. This artwork was originally started by Lorenzo Monaco, but Angelico eventually took over. He also used a Gothic frame, which we can see by the angles and the triangles in the frame. This artwork depicts the pain and suffering Christ endured for humans. We can see his lifeless body being held up, with Mary presumably praying for him in the corner. He uses a bright landscape with a city in the background and successfully uses perspective to give the viewer a sense of space between the background city and Christ in the middle. The next artwork is The Annunciation of Cortona. For this artwork, he used fresco. Like the previous painting, there is also some Gothic influence in this. as the lines that we see are common in Gothic art. This artwork was originally made for the Church of Gesù, but was eventually moved. We see Mary seated on the throne with a Bible on her lap, which also foreshadows her future as the Queen of Heaven. It also depicts Gabriel, an archangel, telling Mary she will give birth to God's son, Jesus. We also see use of gold, which is very common, as almost rays of light. In this artwork, he successfully blends humanity and divinity. The next art is the coronation of the Virgin. He used tempera on panel. This artwork presents a scene in the sky with a focus on Mary and Jesus. We also see a very gilded ornate background, which seems to be a common theme in his work. This painting, however, is different than the original coronation painting. The original coronation painting had a gold background, but this one has replaced the background for a light blue sky, which is more realistic. He also successfully creates spatial awareness in this work, through the use of different sizes. The next piece is the San Marco altarpiece. He used tempera on wood. The main painting of the altar, this is the main painting of the altarpiece for the church. It depicts Madonna with Christ, just like the Fiesole altarpiece. The position of the figures creates space in front of them. However, he does not successfully use scale because Madonna and Christ are not larger than the other figures, even though they are being highlighted. One thing he does do is create balance on both sides of Madonna by using symmetry. We also see several patron saints kneeling to Madonna and a crucifixion with a gold background in the lower center. The last art is the Adoration of the Magi. He used tempera on panel. He also worked with Fra Filippo Lippi, although it is not known who worked on what figures. The Magi was a typical motif in Florence, and it was even painted by other artists in the Renaissance like Da Vinci and Botticelli. The circular shape of this art causes the viewer's eye to move across the image. He uses bright colors, like his many other works, for the costumes of the Magi and the followers, which shows a sign of luxury. This art depicts the Magi worshipping a young Christ. He also successfully uses space in this artwork because we can see the difference between space in Christ and the mountains in the background. These are the sites I used. Thank you.